We are going to finish up our primer demonstration by creating the remaining 3 pages and verifying that they are linked together. So to start, what I'm going to do is go ahead and include a meta for the viewport. Because we included a media query to detect the width of our device, and then there's the assumption we're going to be working with devices. So it's a really good idea to basically set our viewport. So I'm going to copy this meta here. And let's go back to our HTML, and right after the meta for the character set, I'm going to paste in the meta that's going to detect the, or basically it's going to set the initial scale to 100. So what this is going to do is, if you're on a mobile device, this is going to let your device deal with the HTML page correctly. So if we don't do this, what's going to happen is you'll end up getting what could be the desktop version of a layout to display as if it were still on the desktop, and not take advantage of scaling with the width of the device. Okay, so we're going to paste in our meta. Then you will notice that I have added a header, and then the overview area, and then the footer. Now I'm going to point out, because the footer is a dark color and our type is dark, we won't see the type, so I added an inline style to set the color to white. I'm just going to point out I'm doing this because it's the easy way to get the color to show up without modifying my CSS, but this is not a good idea. We can do it, but it's not a good idea to add what is called inline styles or inline CSS. All right, so let's go ahead and save, and we're going to take a look, and we can see our content areas, and we have our menu, and if we scale down per the previous demo, we're now detecting that the width of the browser, or the width of the device, is less than 800 pixels. So we now get our mobile to show, which is our initial CSS styles. And as soon as the page or the device or the browser is wider than 799, 800 or wider, then we get the tablet layout. Okay, that's what we did in our demonstration, was we called out a tablet at 800 pixels. Okay, well, what if you are now viewing this on a desktop and you no longer want your layout to display 100% of the width? Maybe we want our layout to lock at a certain width. Okay, so let's go ahead and explore doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to target the container, all right? And we're going to tell the container to stop being 100% of the width of the viewport, or the width of the device, or the browser window, okay? And we're going to lock that width to a width which we want for our layout on a tablet or a desktop. So let's go to our CSS, and I'm going to grab in here my container, okay, and we'll go ahead and copy. And now remember, the initial rules are the the mobile, and then we have our media query. And I want to point out real quickly, we have our media query, and our media query has a curly brace. And if we scroll down, you'll see you have what is what is our last rule here. And then following that rule, this is the closing curly brace for the media query. Okay, so be careful, don't delete this, otherwise one of your rules will flow right into the rules which follow. And we're isolating these rules to be part of our media query. All right, so I am going to go after where my media query opens here, and let's paste in our container. And let's say we are going to lock the width to 1080 pixels. And we'll keep the height at auto. The margin will be 0 on the top and the bottom, and we'll set auto for the right and the left. So we'll automatically calculate the margin that is left over on the right and the left of this 1080 pixels, which we are setting the width. Okay, so let's go ahead and save, and we will update. Actually, we don't need to update. And now my width, you can see here is the 1080, and our layout is centering in the window. And then as we make this narrow, okay, you'll notice that, okay, so now we are at our mobile layout, and let's make this a little wider. Now I've told the container to be 1080, and 1080 is wider than the width of our window right now, and that is why we have the scroll bar. Okay, so let's go ahead and now go back, and what we're going to do is basically duplicate our code 3 times. All right, so I'm going to save, and then we'll go up to File, and we'll do a Save As, and I'm going to save Primer 1 as Primer 2, and we'll save it right inside of our root level folder, in this case, exercise 6. And I'll save. And then we'll do a save and a save as. And now 3. And I'll save. Then we'll just do a save and a save as. And this will be 4. And just keep in mind that when we started this, we added a href, and I had primer 1, HTML 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Because we set everything up in the very first HTML document, basically we should now have 4 pages, which are all linked together, which are all linked to Primer CSS. So as I stated in an earlier video, if you target one of the elements inside of one of the pages and you're trying to do something specific with that element, remember these are set up to be global at this point. So if I change something on container in 1 and I didn't want that to be in pages 2, 3, and 4, then I would have to target the container differently, like maybe with its ID, okay? Or maybe I would have to add an additional class. So just be careful of, and remember that your CSS in this approach is linked to all 4 pages. So when you change the CSS, you're going to change each of the pages. Okay, so you might have to write rules with specific class names for the different pages. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so now we should be able to test. I believe we have everything. So let's go ahead and you'll see primer 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to go back to 1, and I'm going to go to 2, and in the section here, this says overview. I'm going to change this. I believe it's typography. And then we'll save. And then number 3, instead of overview, this will be our color harmony. So I'm just going to type in color and save. And then number 4, this would be our image gallery, our research area. So I'll just type in gallery. And then let's go back to page 1 and we will preview, and we will see there is overview. So if I click on 2, we should now see typography. Click on 3, we see color, and 4, we see gallery. And then we can go back to page 1. But you'll notice our link colors changed to the default purple because they have been visited. So we need to fix this, all right? So let's go back and we'll go to our CSS and let's find our navigation, okay? And we have link and we have hover. So this is really easy to fix. All I need to do is select what is my compound selector for the anchor link and copy. Add a comma, add a space, paste, and change link to visited. So now the visited state will take on the same characteristics as the link state. Now we have hover down here. There's also a state called active. That is when you're actually clicking and continuing to hold the mouse down. So if you wanted to change the button while you're continuing to hold down on a link, you could copy all of this, paste it after, change hover to active, and then make your changes here. If you want the hover and the active to be the same, then we can just copy, add a comma, add a space, paste, and we'll change hover to active. And then we will save. And you'll see that your button colors, as far as the type, returns to what is the link state, and we no longer see that default visited state, which is purple. All right, so we have reached the end of the primer. We have built the basic structure. We've created a navigation which uses Flex Box and a media query. So we can now have a menu specific to a mobile device, and a menu which will detect other widths. And then we also have used in that media query our container to change from a fixed width for a larger device to a width of 100% of the device width or the viewport width. All right. Now it's up to you to fill out the content areas, which are your header, your main element with all this, with however many sections, and then whatever you're going to do in the footer. All right. Good luck.